If you have watched the last two episodes, you might have noticed a few things looked a little different. The chair has changed. The cupboard behind me looked a little bit more organized. Nothing major, nothing that would change the course of human history. But the more I think about it, the more I realized this episode was never really about a chair or a cupboard. It was about something I had stopped noticing. And the funny thing is, those changes did not start when I bought a new chair or when I bought a few storage baskets. They started when I was reviewing my own videos, because once I saw a few things, I could not unsee them. The first thing was my Secret Lab Game of Thrones chair. From the footage, it honestly looked like it came out of the dumpster, but that is the furthest thing from the truth. That chair was well loved by me and by my 10 beautiful cats. To me, the chair was rest, comfort, the place I sat after work, the place I watched movies, the place I collapsed into when the day was finally over. But to my cats, it was something else entirely. It was their throne, their waiting spot, their personal scratching board, and apparently their canvas. While I was not home, they would sit on it. Maybe because it smelled like me. Maybe because they wanted to be close to me. Or maybe they looked at that chair and thought that needs more texture. Over time, they left their marks. One scratch, then another, and another. Until in their opinion, the masterpiece was probably ready for an art gallery, a very exclusive gallery for cats only. And honestly, I was not angry with them. How to be angry? I love that chair, but I love my cats more. So after a while, I stopped reacting to it. Then I stopped being surprised by it. And eventually, I stopped noticing how bad it had become. The first change was the chair. And of course, choosing a chair was not as simple as I thought, because once you start looking, suddenly there are so many options. My first thought was to go back to Secret Lab. Maybe the Titan Evo, something familiar, something I already knew. Then there was Razer Blackpink chair. And honestly, I loved it because it is Blackpink. Enough said. But the third option happened completely by accident. After my appointment with my orthopedic surgeon, I went to the nearby mall for lunch. And there, OSIM was having their roadshow. They were showcasing their latest massage gaming chair. Of course, I went to have a look. Just a look, which, as we all know, it's a very dangerous sentence. I liked the color. I liked that it had fabric and synthetic leather. But what really sold me was the massage function. The moment I sat on it and tried it, I thought, oh no, this feels good. And that was it. I decided on it the same day. On the day of delivery, I was excited. And apparently so were my kids. We all gathered in the room. Me looking at the new chair, the cats looking at the new chair, and the new chair was probably wondering what kind of house it had just entered. I sat down. The cats were nearby, staring at me, as if they were waiting for their turn. Then I turned on the massage function, and honestly, it was heavenly. For a moment, I thought, yes, this is the life. A chair that gives me comfort, a chair that helps me relax, a chair that may or may not survive my 10 cats. Because while I was a little sad to let my secret lab chair go, I also knew it was time. Change had to happen. Not because the old chair meant nothing, but because it had done its job. Almost 6 years. Many movie nights, many tired evenings, many scratches, many artistic contributions from my cats. It had served me well, maybe a little too well. So now, looking at the Osim V throne and then looking at my kids, I started wondering how long this new chair would survive. Maybe because it's not full leather, they may not like it as much. Maybe the fabric will confuse them. Maybe they will respect the massage function. Or maybe I'm just being very optimistic because, let's be honest, the odds are not exactly in the chair's favor. So maybe I should ask you, how long do you think this chair will survive before my cats decide it also belongs in their art collection? 1 month, 6 months, a year? Let me know in the comments. I would really like to see how much faith you have in my cat's self-control. As for me, I'm choosing to be hopeful, very hopeful, but still, one can hope. The second thing I noticed was the cupboard behind me, or more accurately, the background in my videos. It had been a while since I really took time to organize it. Over the years, things just slowly accumulated. A pair of sunglasses here, another pair there, Blackpink collectibles, BTS collectibles, DJI equipment, a few random boxes from my office during COVID, boxes that I told myself I would sort out later. Apparently, later turned out to be several years. The funny thing was, I did not think it was messy. Not because it was organized, but because I had gotten used to seeing it. Every day I walked past it, every day I sat next to it, every day it was there. And after a while, it stopped registering until I saw it in my videos. Then suddenly, I saw it through someone else's eyes. And I thought, oh no, people are going to think that I don't care. But that wasn't true. I do care. I had just stopped noticing. And I think that was the moment something clicked, because it wasn't really about the cupboard. It was about how easy it is to get used to things, even when they are right in front of us. So I decided to do something about it. Nothing grand, no renovation, no big makeover, just one cupboard. A few hours of my weekend, I started taking things out, one shelf at a time. And almost immediately, I started finding things I had completely forgotten about. Things I thought I had lost, things I thought I needed, and a few things that made me wonder why I kept them in the first place. And somehow, things that had survived multiple rounds of cleaning. At that point, I think they qualified as permanent residents. So I started sorting, keeping some things, throwing away others, finding proper homes for the things that mattered. For the first time in a long while, the cupboard started making sense again. Not because it was perfect, far from it, but because I could finally see what was there and what did not need to be there anymore. And the funny thing is, when I finally finished, I stood there looking at it and thought, why didn't I do this earlier? It wasn't difficult. It didn't take months. It didn't need a professional organizer. I didn't need a grand plan. I just needed to start. And I have to admit, I was a little bit proud of myself. Not because the cupboard suddenly looked like something out from a magazine. Trust me, it doesn't. But because I had finally dealt with something I had been putting off for years. The boxes from COVID, things I kept meaning to sort, things that somehow become part of the furniture. They were finally dealt with. And for the first time in a long while, the space felt lighter, not bigger, not fancier, just lighter, more intentional, more like a space I wanted to spend time in. And standing there looking at the cupboard, I started thinking maybe it wasn't just my home. Because since I began this journey, I have been noticing things and making small adjustments, trying to sleep a little better, trying to eat a little better, trying to move a little more, trying to take better care of myself. And if I'm being honest, some of those things started the same way. Not because something was terribly wrong, but because I finally noticed something I had stopped paying attention to. My clothes not fitting as comfortably anymore, feeling less energetic than I used to, waking up after a night's sleep and still not feeling rested, and telling myself that was probably just a part of getting older. Small things, the kind of things that slowly become part of everyday life. Until one day, you notice them, you acknowledge them, and finally, you decided to do something about them. Over the years, I've tried to lose weight many times, and more than once I failed. Start over and failed again, and starting over again. Looking back, the main reason was because I always thought change had to be big. A complete overhaul, a brand new routine, completely different way of eating, a completely different lifestyle. And I'm being honest, I usually overwhelmed myself. The changes were so big that they were difficult to sustain. And eventually I would fall back into old habits, and sometimes with vengeance. The weight would come back, and often it will bring a little extra with it. The same thing happened with exercise. If you hardly move at all, suddenly trying to do cardio, resistance training, and exercise 6 days a week is probably not going to last very long. At least it didn't for me. The more I think about it, the more I realize that major changes are a lot like major house renovations. They take time, they take effort, they take sacrifice. And sometimes they are so destructive that halfway through, you start wondering why you ever started. Small adjustments are different. They are easier to live with, one thing at a time. Instead of trying to change everything, you make one small adjustment. Watching one less episode on Netflix and going for a walk after a meal. Choosing fruit instead of Doritos. Going to bed a little earlier instead of binge watching shows. Drinking a little more water instead of reaching for a Coca-Cola. Small adjustments, manageable adjustments, the kind of changes that you can sustain long enough to become part of your life. And over time, something interesting starts to happen. You slowly accumulate more good habits than the bad ones, not because you force yourself to change overnight, but because you kept making small adjustments along the way. In fact, when I think about my own journey, that is exactly what happened. I did not start with a gym membership. I did not start with a trainer. And I definitely did not start with some perfect fitness plan. At my heaviest, I started with walking. Nothing strenuous, just walking. Then a little bit more walking, and then a little bit more after that. Later, I added cycling, and somewhere along the way, I fell in love with it. Then eventually, I started working with a personal trainer. Looking back, none of these things happened overnight. The process took more than a year. One small adjustment leading to another, and then another, and then another. And I think that was one of the biggest differences for me this time. I was giving my body time to adapt, time to accept the changes, time to get used to the new normal. Instead of trying to force everything at once, I added a little at a time. And because of that, it never felt like I was punishing myself. It just felt like I was slowly building a different lifestyle that was moving me in the right direction. And maybe that is why this time feels different. Not because I found a secret, not because I suddenly become more disciplined, but because I stopped trying to change everything at once and started making small adjustments instead. One thing at a time, one habit at a time, one step at a time. This time it was a chair and a cupboard, but when I think about it, the same thing has been happening to other parts of my life too. Not through one big decision, but through many small adjustments that slowly become routines that slowly become habits, and habits that slowly start changing the way I live. Maybe that is what aging stronger really means. Not finding the perfect plan, not making the biggest change, but noticing the things that we have stopped seeing and making small adjustments before they become bigger problems at home, in our health, and in our everyday lives. This is me, still trying, and I'll see you in the next episode.